Hello, everyone. A link was shared with me about the differences between males and females, body structure, the visuals, the differences, and I think it's important to share here. So thank you very much for sharing it. And that's what I would like to look at here. I think it's important to look at it so that we can know how we are being deceived through the transgender deception, because overall we have to educate ourselves because the mainstream, the schools, including universities, are not going to do it. The title of this is Male versus Female, as you can see at the top. Male versus Female Visual Differences. Let's begin. The heading for this section is Male versus Female Skulls. Males have larger and wider skulls than women. A man's face has a brow ridge which tends to look like a cap over the eyes. Because of this, a man's eyes tend to be set back in the face more than that of a female. A male's face is framed like a square with a flat chin. So if you draw over a square on a face and the face looks like it fits into a square, then that's a man's face. A female's face is oval in shape with a pointy chin. So if you draw an oval shape over a face and it fits into an oval shape, then it's a woman's face. A man's chin is flat. A female's chin is pointed. A man's jaw from the side will form a capital L shape. A woman's jaw will form a capital C or capital J. A man's jaw comes down further from the ear if you're looking at it from the front, while a woman's tends to start bending into an oval or C or J shape from the ear when you're looking at it from the front. Males have a sloping longer forehead and receding hairline around the face, while females have a vertical forehead. Females have more lip volume and more protruding lips than males. Females have a smaller width of the mouth than men. Men have a pronounced Adam's apple, even more prominent when talking. Females don't, I'm missing something. Females don't, excuse me. The next title is Male Face Skull Shape Picture below. So that's what they talked about. You can see the male, square jaw, square chin, Adam's apple. Next picture shows the female face and skull picture below. Round or oval face. Okay, round, J or C. Okay. Okay, so the next section reads Male versus Female Shoulders, Arms, Rib Cage, and Neck. Males have longer, denser, more pronounced collarbones than females, and the width of the collarbones in its roundness is more thicker and more pronounced than females. This is because the male shoulders are longer to support the larger male rib cage, which is bigger and larger than the female rib cage. The length of the male's shoulders hang across the body like the shape of a capital letter T. The larger, heavier skulls that males have causes for a wider neck and more developed and massive trapezius muscles to support the weight of the heavier skull, longer collarbones, and shoulders. It is a misconception that a woman's neck is usually longer than a male's. That's important. I'll read that again. It is a misconception that a woman's neck is usually longer than a male's. This would be like saying that a female giraffe has a longer neck than the male's. The length of the neck doesn't matter. It's the width that matters. Anything that's heavier on top requires wider support. This is sound logical architectural thinking in building anything. Males have heavier skulls, so require a wider neck to support. So that is the reason for a wider neck. Males have longer shoulders, so they have more developed, stronger, more massive trapezius muscles to support the shoulder and neck. Anything else is pseudoscience, not proven and not true. It's only there to confuse you so you have a false preconditioned mindset of how males and females should look. The female shoulders hang in the shape of the capital letter A, as shown below in the diagram, to support the arms because the female's shoulders are short. The hands cling to the contours of the body and are supported by the higher female hips in proportion to the length of the female torso, causing the female arms to angle out at the elbows to rest on the sides of the hips, diagram below. A male's arms are always longer than the arms of female when held to the body. So if you measure a woman's arms dangling from the side, the crotch should stop inside the palms of her hands, while for a man, his crotch should stop above his wrist or at the wrist. This is the reason a female will have a shorter reach with a male of the same height. See the diagram below. Because of the longer collarbone and shoulders that males have, this causes the male's muscles around the neck and trapezius muscles to be more developed, much more than females. So males will have stronger and larger necks and more defined trapezius muscles than females. Also, the trapezius muscles of the man end abruptly, and there is separation from where it ends to where the shoulders extend, while in women the trap muscles ends where the shoulder begins. See diagram below. Males have a wider neck that has mass and females do not. Mass. When looking for a male or female neck, look for mass in the neck and trapezius muscle to determine if the person is male or female. They give you an example of the mass. It's not smooth. This one is smoother. in the back too. You can check more pictures of muscular females below for the shoulder blades. A man's shoulder blades are bigger. That's also interesting. I hardly ever look at the shoulder blades. Now I'm going to pay more attention to the shoulder blades when doing these investigations. A man's shoulder blades are bigger, further apart from each other. Not angled and protruding, but flatter and not closer to the spine. Male versus female pelvises. The pelvis is shaped like a bucket. So if you have a bucket with the bottom of the bucket removed, that would be a pelvis. Picture below of a tilted bucket, which is how the pelvis is for females. In males, the bucket is held straight up. In females, it is tilted forward as shown above. The reason why it's tilted forward in females is so that a female can carry the baby when pregnant and the baby can stay protected in the womb inside the pelvis without falling out. The male pelvis is longer in length than the female pelvis, while the female pelvis is wider in width. The inside of a male pelvis is shaped like a heart, and it's narrower and has no space, but the female pelvis is shaped like an oval when viewed from the top. Seems everything in the female is oval in shape. Diagram below will be called superior view for the top view, which means you're looking at a bucket from the top with the bottom out. Because the female pelvis is wider, the pubic arch is also wider. This makes a woman's legs to be placed further apart. Shouldn't be farther apart, because farther with an A is talking about distance. Okay, it's probably a grammatical error, because that I know that A is for physical distance. Anyway, let's read that again. This makes a woman's legs to be placed farther apart in the pelvis. It should be A, definitely, which helps in the childbearing. This causes the hip joints to jut out. See subpubic arch angle below. This, okay, interesting. Okay, this jutting out and wide pelvis makes females to have an hourglass figure. Okay. Together with their more prominent S-shaped spine, which is shaped that way to carry the load of being pregnant. Diagram a female pelvis showing how a baby comes out from it, because the pelvis is wide and shaped like an oval with no obstructions. Diagram below showing how the baby fits into the pelvis of a woman, because it's shaped like a tilted bucket to the front. A new discovery, Ghana, Ethiopia. The hip joints, a small detail but insignificant. Excuse me, reread that again. A small detail but significant. A woman's hip joints jut outside the pelvic bone because of the wider pelvis, making the hips and legs to be more far apart. This visibly shows in the body and this helps to capture the female curve. Because of this jutting out is sometimes very prominent and sometimes not so prominent, depending on the female. In contrast, a man's hip joints are inside the pelvic bone. Diagrams below. A woman's spine tends to be more flexible and is visibly more arched than a man's, which means a woman will have a deeper curve in her back, so the curve starts dipping just below the shoulder blades and comes out at her buttocks. This is so because a female needs support to carry the weight of a child in pregnancy, and also the pelvis, which is tilted forward to hold that weight in place, always makes a female look like she is leaning forward with her butt sticking behind her. So a female's back will be shaped like an S, both from the side and from the back. Males have straight backs all the way. The back has no deep arch, but runs straight down to the buttocks with no curve or arch in the spine. Shaped like an S. A female's waist starts above her belly button. Above the belly button. Okay. I'm not the one making this up. I'm just reading it. Because every time some of us point this out, people like disruptors and liars, like the transgender groups, try to twist everything. You're getting this is scientific information right here. I'll read that again. A female's waist starts above her belly. This is where females have an indentation, where the upper body is differentiated from the lower body, while a male's indentation starts below the belly button and very close to his hips. So the male upper body is differentiated from the lower body by the indent point below the navel or belly button. Women's elbows tend to be held close to the body, and the arms at rest naturally follow the body's contours. So a woman's arms to her side makes it look like a capital A standing. A woman has to deliberately hold her arms away from her body, otherwise the arms always hug the body. Meanwhile, men's shoulders are further out. It should be farther out, so that they look like a capital T. The arm at rest dangles away from the body and is not naturally held close. A man's arms will always not hug the body. It will always be away from the body. A woman's arms from her elbows angles out, so it seems that it is never straight when she holds her hands out with the inside of her palms facing upward towards her face at shoulder length. This is because the shoulders are narrower and arms need a point of rest, so the elbows are tucked into her side to follow the body contours and rest on the sides of her pelvis. This is how the skeleton of a female is designed once the sex is determined during the fertilization. The male's arms held this way will be straight without angling out from the elbow. A woman's body is made up of soft, rounded shapes, breast and buttocks, and when not modified through the taking. Oh, this is good. This is good. Let's read that again. A woman's body is made up of soft, rounded shapes, breast and buttocks, and when not modified through the taking of hormones and surgery, the female body stocks more fat under the skin. Men's bodies are more angular and have harsher lines when they are muscular or leaner. Note that in reasonably slim bodies of a woman's, the stomach is gently curved because her pelvis tilts forward and her buttocks are rounded. A man tends to flatness both A man tends to flattenness both in the stomach and buttocks, except exercises are made to round or firm the buttocks or surgery. Surgery, transgender. General body differences. I might have to stop this so you can read the rest. I'll give you the link because this is long. I didn't anticipate this to be this long. General body differences. A woman's back and spine is shaped like the letter S because of the wider pelvis and support to carry children. So when a woman stands, kneels, or bends, there will always be a deep curve, an arch in her back, as the diagram below shows. Curve in the back, curve in the lower back, curve in the lower back. The widest part of a woman is usually her hips and buttocks area, while the wide T the widest part of a man is the shoulder area. A man's center of gravity is his shoulders. That's why men move or walk from the shoulders or swing, as we say it. All the motion of a man in his shoulders. A female's center of gravity is in the hips. So that's why women seem to catwalk, because all the motion is from the hips, and the shoulders and arms will always cling to the body and not away from it. The Q angle. The Q angle of the body is more acute in women. The Q angle is the angle from which the thigh wider and the pubic arch. I'm too many thoughts. The pubic arch is wider in the female pelvis, making the legs to be further apart, joined at the knee. This causes women to have a thigh gap in between their leg, and it is very visible even when a woman has her legs standing close together while standing. So when a woman walks, her whole body will lean towards the side that has the greater Q angle from which foot is supporting it. Diagram below. Q angle. It's a Q, like the letter Q. Men do not have thigh gaps because their pelvis is narrower, and their pubic arch is close together and shorter. So even with a man standing with his legs apart, he will not have a thigh gap. Some women may not have a noticeable thigh gap when standing with their feet together. This will only be because of the fat distribution in the thighs. Diagram below of the Q angle. Depending on the fat distribution of the female thigh, a thigh gap should be there in some form like this below, or a wider thick gap like this below. The only reason females may not have a thigh gap with their feet closed together would be because of excess fat. That's good to know. Distribution. Which females tend to have more in their thighs and hips, because some females stock up more fat than is normal for females. Picture below. Females have more body fat than males, and the female body fat is more rounder and finer. This is because it is required for pregnancy. A male's body fat will be more rugged. A female's stocks up fat in her tummy, buttocks, thighs and hips. Males stock up fat in their tummy. Males form more angles in the overall body shapes. This angles or shapes will be in squares. Females have an hourglass figure and will form more rounded or oval shapes in their body structure. Males flare up towards their armpits into a V shape upwards because the shoulders are longer and go across the trunk of the body. Females flare downwards towards their hips because the pelvis is longer across the trunk of the body. This means that males spread upwards while females spread downwards. So that means a woman's body jots out at her hips and a man's body jots out at his shoulders. So it's always shoulders in male versus hips in a female. Males have longer torsos. That means you will see more body from the armpits to the waist, while women will have less body or shorter torso from the armpit to where their waist starts, which is above the female navel or belly button. A man's waist starts below the belly button. A female's waistline starts above the female belly button diagram below. Males have larger hands and longer fingers than female. Males have more kneecaps than females. Women have love handles just below their shoulders, shoulder blades, and before their belly button, which show more from the back. More picture below. Love handles. Men have love handles which show more in the front, around the male's waistline, picture below. Males have more prominent and more angular pelvic arch in the front side with the love handles arch being very prominent for a muscular man, picture below. I haven't been looking at this. I have to pay more attention to this. Females have more rounded arch in the pelvic area and less prominent to none at all depending on the body fat as compared to the males, picture below. We just saw that. Also, women have less abdominal mass and space in between the abdominal muscles more than males. This is because the muscles need to be looser to accompany the growing tummy during pregnancy. Makes sense. Compare the pictures of the male abdominal muscles and the female abdominal muscles to see the space in between each abdominal muscle or six-pack. You'll see that the male is more tighter and closer together, while the female abdominal muscles does not have so much mass and the muscles have more space in between them. A female's tummy will curve from the side and also downwards at an acute angle, sloping into the pelvis from the belly button, picture below, marked with red, while a man's tummy will be flat and straight both from the side and downward towards the pelvis. Note in the picture below that the back has a curve which her shoulder blades curves deeply before the belly button. You will always see that deep curve The only reason you may not see the deep curve on a woman may depend on how fat she is. Compared to a man, the back will be more straight or slant all the way to the pelvis, where it will run straight into his butt, and you'll see more of the width of a man's back from the side view. Picture below. In terms of muscular mass, males have larger, more defined, denser and thicker muscles. Women have more lean and less dense and finer muscular structures, except the female is taking supplemental testosterone and human growth hormones to build more muscle mass. So without that, females will never have muscle mass in terms of density and thickness like men, no matter how hard they work out or lift weights. A male's belly button sits lower towards his pelvis in relation to his longer torso, while a female's belly button sits higher above her pelvis in relation to her shorter torso. Estrogen is the hormone that makes the difference between males and females. Males and females both have testosterone, but the estrogen level determines the major differences between males and females. So men have low estrogen in the body, while women have more estrogen compared to the testosterone they have. This is a biological makeup of males and females. It's pseudoscience that as men get older, they create more estrogen in their body. It's an excuse for you to believe that men get more slender. So true. Muscle mass may reduce, but men don't get slender as they get older. This excuse is given to hide the fact that it's a female living as a male. Interesting. But they never tell you how a 90-year-old man can still impregnate a woman. Cause what? I'm reading. It's funny. Okay. Let me pause the video. I'm still recording. Give me a second. Okay. All right. We're back. Where was I? Okay. Yes. It says, but they will never tell you how a 90-year-old man can still impregnate a woman. Because without a higher level of testosterone, more than estrogen in a male body, sperms can't be produced. Interesting. I had a relative in the family who was like, he was 70, I don't know, mid 70 years old. And he got, okay, it's not that important. A female's pelvis is tilted forward, so this makes a woman's underwear tend to show less in the front because it's being pulled back by the tilt of her pelvis behind here, and the wider hips and being plunged backwards. While in a man, this will not be the case. It will have a fuller view of the underwear from the front. Okay, move down. Note, one of the defining factors in people who believe they can transition from male to female is that in the castrated male who has gone through genital mutilation, that's precisely what it is. I can't call it reassignment because the reassigned genitals don't work as normal. The reassigned mutilated vagina has no depth as a natural born female. as natural born females. So there is a lack of depth because the male pelvis isn't designed to support depth. It's too narrow and not wide enough. So if you ever run into a lack of depth in a supposed female and vaginal dryness, know certainly that it is not a natural born female. I'll read that again. So if you ever run into a lack of depth in a supposed female and vaginal dryness, know certainly that it is not a natural born female. Get up and run. Okay, have you guys, I've told the story of a friend who told me a story of, this is a story of a guy who went out with a girl, I guess, drinking too much. I don't know what alcohol or how much. I guess he had too much alcohol. They both had alcohol. The supposed girl was imitating a girl's voice. Apparently didn't undergone. I don't know how much surgical operation the woman or the girl had. But I guess the guy was too drunk to realize that it wasn't a real female. So after their date, they ended up in the room the and they went to the girl's place. And when they were ready to have intercourse, the supposed girl kept saying, "Let's do it in the ASS." Instead of the other hole, right? Let's do it in the ASS. And the guy say, why? And well, the girl said, well, I think I want it in the ASS. So eventually the guy, I guess maybe he was too horny, gave in, and they did it in the ASS. After the intercourse, the supposed girl reverted to the normal state, his normal state, and started talking with a deep voice. And the guy was shocked and climbed out of the window and never returned. The supposed girl kept calling and calling. The guy never called back. I don't know if that was the best, I don't know if I told the story that well, but that's more or less what happened. Okay, reading on. The person does not have to tick all the boxes, but the scale of attributes which weight more resides mostly in the pelvis, shoulders, muscle, and fat. So most of the signs should indicate a particular gender. So it doesn't always have to be all the signs. So a few of the signs could be off, but they say here that the person does not have to tick all the boxes, but the scale of attributes should weight more in the pelvis, shoulders, muscles, and fat distribution in the body. Okay, that's important. Okay, so I'm glad this post also has things about transgender. Tricks of the trade in a so-called transgender. For a female to male transgender, the transgender attempts to hide her female sex by packing on a lot of muscles, hiding the shoulders through clothes and building shoulders muscles by excessive workouts, cosmetic surgery on the face to hide the oval face and pointy chin, tattoos, clothes to hide the hips, standing always in a pose that makes the shoulders squarer or longer, facial hair long or short, but the hips will never hide. So look for that. For a male to female transgender, attempt to hide the male sex by looking extremely lean or extremely fat, having a Brazilian butt lift to put more weight behind the butt, and fake curves and hips. The Kardashians. fake breast or breast caused by taking too much estrogen with small or underdeveloped nipples, long hair to hide the wide face, and maybe implanted jaw which should be square, dress or clothes to hide the shoulders, extreme makeup, large earrings to distract away from the extended shoulders which hang out the trunk of the body, clothes to show curves or scantily clad to deceive the eyes, extreme female mannerisms or diva-ish behavior. Never standing straight to show that he has no curves, but always twisting the body to fake a curve and deliberately poking the butt out to fake a curve in the spine. In these cases, look for the long collarbones and shoulders, wide neck, and trapezius muscles, which will never change. In prepubescent transgenders, people who, okay, you know what, I'm tired of reading. Let me see if I can skip a little bit. In both cases, the one thing that will make you know something is wrong is extreme plastic surgery. Yes, I've been saying that. If they look like they're plastic, like too pretty or it's too like weird, like rubbery, you know they are not real. There's no reason to be, even if you really can't tell the difference, if the structures change from one stage of life, from childhood to adulthood, they start out with a round chin and then they end up with a square chin. That alone should be a sign. Why are you changing your look? Why not just stay the way you are? Not everybody is going to be an exemplary man or an exemplary model of a man. Not everybody's going to be an exemplary model of a female. You are going to have some people having small ears, which I have. I have small ears according to most people. My ears are small, which are indicative of a female. But most of my signs, every other sign, is male. Okay, so you are going to have one or two, or maybe two or three that are off. That's normal. Why have surgery to fix them? Unless most of the signs indicate one gender, maybe that's why we are cutting off, mutilating our bodies to fool the general public so that they stay in health. Again, when you mutilate your body, you invite parasites, and parasites are not what we think they are. For most part, they're not merely worms and snakes in the body. Usually, parasites that cause depression and things like that are out of the body things, demonic entities. Demons are not something that are only found in religion and in the Bible or Quran. They are real. It's just dark light invading your body. So when you cut off your body, parts of your body, you are inviting. When you drink alcohol, you should drink very little of it. From personal experience, just saying. Good luck on your journey.